Would you say that married mothers are more financially stable than single mothers? Okay.
Wait, what? What in the cloud? Would you say that married mothers are more financially stable than single mothers?
Than single mothers? Okay. Anyone can respond.
Right now, because we were a two-income household, but with my mom being sick and now my son being sick, and my daughter struggles with her autism and bipolar, I'm home. And it just so happens that every program that I keep being told about that we could use for me to stay home and then get paid to stay home, my husband makes too much money. And you're like, but I can't pay my electricity bill, or I don't know how we're gonna buy food just because we live in a decent neighborhood or whatever. We're lucky we got into that neighborhood when we did, and our landlord is amazing because, you know, our rent is probably it would be double what he's actually charging us because we've been there for going on 11 years. And he always signs us for like 4 or 5 year leases at a time because he loves us and we wanna stay. But it's just because the outer shell may look beautiful and shiny doesn't mean that when you go inside, it's not a dying grass landscape. Sometimes we're just really good at masking the outside to make it perceive that things are better than they are. It definitely does not.
Shut up. You're getting so far off the question. The thing is that, did you guys just hear what she just said? Oh, tell me if you guys picked up the ridiculous. Okay, so when you start off this question at the top, it's just a math equation, right? You should be more financially stable if there's two people there as opposed to one person, which is why I was so confused at this. But she said, maybe not, because my husband makes too much money. Ergo, if the man in my life was not here, I might be more financially stable. Through help of the state. Yo, that is wild. So she doesn't, she can't get certain benefits because the man is there. Oh, when you talk about the destruction of the two-parent household, I'm starting to believe that. I mean, I've been thinking about this, but it's like the more that we do this content, we come across hard, concrete evidence that this is a construction. Oh, this is incredible right here.
It's better, you know, the programs that are there that should support you during these like hard times, like especially to say that your husband's car that is not new needs to be sold in order for you to qualify. It makes no sense when that's his car to get to work. It doesn't make, things like that don't make sense to me. But all I do is just tell myself that, breathe.
No wonder they say that men are nice to haves as opposed to needs to have, because they're willing to accept the government as their father, the government as their husband. And she's on the married side, so obviously she hasn't chosen to accept it, but oh, I can't wait till we get into the single moms over here. Damn, this is so crazy.
And just, you know.
This is why also, too, because there's so many people who take advantage of EBT, food stamps, Section 8. This is why within the Trump's big, beautiful bill, you know, they have taken steps to, you know, disable certain swaths of people from getting benefits. But this is why, and when he would talk about this, he would say it's to continue to promote or incentivize two-parent household and family, which is the cornerstone of our nation, of any nation, right? But when you see married women speaking about this, the idea that they can choose government as their daddy and be more financially stable to potentially de-incentivize two-parent household, you begin to understand the bullshit that we're wrapped in. Woo!
Live a little more frugal, and just we still give, and I think that's our biggest thing is we're still blessed. we may not have as much as others, but we're still blessed. So I feel like that's, I think, one of the things I am teaching my kids is you don't have to have everything, you know. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like my mom, as a single mom, took, like, sometimes it was way better just with what she had available to her than being in a married, because then your dynamic is different, so they calculate you different, and it does change the dynamic of that.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective.
What's up, brother? What you got for me?
Oh, I'm just listening here, having to agree with most of everything I'm hearing. I mean, people today don't realize how much the situation is deteriorating. They don't seem to have the same priorities, you know, when things get to the finite of it, you know.
What you think about the concept of the selection of the government over a man?
Oh, it's atrocious. It's atrocious, and shame to say I've been victimized by it firsthand. I was married to a woman for 23 years, and after Hurricane Katrina, she decided she didn't want to be married anymore, and you know, she decided to take my children and leave. And for 16 years, she lied about money she took from the insurance company, and the state of Texas just let her get away with it. I
You
mean,
lying.
for
So she
years
was
we did it,
building
and
up
I
a
didn't
nest
have
egg. She was building up a nest egg to leave you.
Well, she had a nest egg. That was the problem about it, you know. And this is what the great KS used to talk about when he said women keep women single, because when she and I was married and her mother was alive, her mother, a married woman, put her head with sense. But unfortunately, her mother passed away, and these other hyenas who wanted to got in her head and changed her life for the worse. I mean, I'll give you an example. We're talking about a woman, she was a 10 all around. And I was with her ever since, well, she was still in high school when we met, and I was out. I was out, had just graduated college, and the two of us put up with a long distance relationship for a while she was in college and I was working. And when she got out of college, we got married. We started our lives together, and we was married for 5 years before we had any kids. And we lived 5 years on our own, having fun, just being a couple. And something you got to look at here too, which is kind of messed up. When I went to school, I put myself through school. I paid my own way, paid my own tuition, did everything. Got me a job. Yeah, I was living with my grandma, but I worked in her store as well as took care of her house while I was living with her while I was in school. So we too, but grandma didn't know that, and I got myself through that. I took myself out of the hood, which is where I come from, and put myself in the corporate life. And in that corporate life, I started climbing the ladder while she was in college. She come out of college and she had tremendous debt out of college. And I didn't think nothing of it. That was the woman I wanted. I took that on, and the two of us went on about our life. But then funny thing happened. A couple of things happened at the same time. Unfortunately, her mama died. Lymphoma came along and took her mama. Wonderful woman, beautiful woman. I love her to this day. And these other friends I find out afterwards who had been talking to her started having a bigger influence on her. In 20 years, we had done paid off them student loans that she came with and had finally gotten free of them. She had then gotten her a job moving up from playing with pee and poo in the hospital to working for a pharmaceutical company, and had finally started making some bank as a sales rep. And after Hurricane Katrina, she decided that since the loans was paid off and I was working, that she would turn me into a paycheck and go off on her own, listening to her own friends. Now, at the time we was married, this woman didn't wear no makeup, had her own natural hair, and she was a 10. Now, these hyenas then got to her and filled her head with everything. She walking around with all kind of curly blonde wigs on, face dressed up, looking like everything but the red-nosed clown at the circus. And she just thinks that she's okay with it. She don't realize how messed up she is, but being from Katrina, when we left, I kept my phone number. Same phone number I had for the whole 22 years we was married. Now she's off on her own, and I'm getting phone calls just about every week now about people looking for her to pay her bills.
What?
Yes, because I still have the same phone number that we had back then. When they do traces on her and find out in her background this used to be her phone number, they call me up looking for a payment. And she took me for every penny she could for child support when we moved to Texas. Because we got wiped out in Katrina. There was nothing to go back to. Nothing at all. And she turned me into a paycheck. And every time she found out I would take another step up my professional ladder, she would go back to court trying to get more money. Every time. And then when my oldest son got ready to graduate from high school, this woman went out and had one of my twins declared autistic so that she could keep getting all of the money she was getting after the other kid had been graduated. And the state of Texas let her get away with it all. They let her get away with all of the lies. They took it as at first the judge said no psychologists. And I went out and got a psychiatrist and to disrupt her or dispute her allegations.
Yeah.
And she comes in there with a psychologist report and the judge accepts it. He accepts it. Not to mention the whole time she was claiming that I owed her money as back child support, where she had to literally in Louisiana took all of the insurance money for child support.
What?
And she lied about it for 16 years. And when the state of Texas, here's to your point, when it came time for me to go to jail, because I was refusing to pay money I had done paid once, I had become disabled. And I was on Social Security, still am. Retired individual here, 67 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She took me to court and was going to get me thrown in jail. So I had to take the money I got from Social Security.
Wait a minute. What was she trying to throw you in court for? What was it? Missed child support?
Because she wanted to collect again. She collected $27,000 in child support from Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but when she came to Texas, she did not report that to Texas. She told Texas that I hadn't given her anything, and I had to go out and find an attorney that was licensed in Louisiana and Texas to take on my case to keep me from going to jail. Cost me over $12,000. And this woman had to come up from Houston to Denton, Texas. And when she got the woman to admit that she had taken that $30,000 in Louisiana back in 2006, and that she had lied twice before in Texas, the judge and the state attorney general just let her get away with it. They didn't say nothing about it. Didn't say a darn thing. And that was the day I was supposed to go to jail. The day I was supposed to go to jail. They just let her walk away saying that, oh yeah, I lied back then. And those two other times that we had hearings on this, and he put me on the stand and cross-examined me. And I lied then too. And they just let her walk. Let her walk. And those other two times that she lied and said that she didn't get nothing, the judge ordered me to pay her attorney fees.
So
that's
listen,
how
OG.
Bad it is.
OG, just okay. I had to let you cook for a quick second. Because I wanted to hear the story. I wanted to see. And if you got more within the conclusion, let's go over real quick. But I got it. So let me try to paraphrase some things here. It seems as though you got married to somebody who, inevitably presented one way, but she had different thoughts underneath, right? Sound like she got married because she needed help, right? Maybe she wanted a
No,
family, but she wanted help in paying off the student loans.
no,
And
she wasn't even in college when we got married. She didn't have no student loans then.
yeah,
We
but she
was
went to college while you got married, while you were married.
Yeah, and her mama signed for the loans. So if she would have defaulted on her loans, they'd have went after her mama, not me.
Okay. So, but after she paid off to the loans, it took 20 years. Then 2 years later, she divorced you.
Yes.
And then now she's coming for
Oh,
everything, and
she done now.
including each promotion that you would get, she would file a petition to get more.
Well, yeah, well, I'll tell you about it there too. I was a very, very high tech individual. I repaired electronics, and I repaired everything from soldering irons to Sony jumbotrons. Okay, literally, and that's what I used to do. I worked in stadiums, fixing major equipments and
Mm-hmm.
operating the systems that they had. And I worked in New Orleans doing that. I worked in Dallas doing that. Worked in Baton Rouge also, but those was like traveling gigs. I don't even count the traveling gigs. And I moved up the ladder. I moved up from being a stadium technician to engineer in charge. And every step of the way, she was there with me. And after we moved here, she thought I was done. She thought when we left New Orleans that I was over with and I could never do that anywhere else again. But I proved her wrong to the nth degree, and she tried to climb up on it. And she took me to court every time, lied, and the system allowed her to do it.
The system allowed her to do it.
Just like every one of these people you sitting here with,
This
I
is
can
so
see
crazy.
pieces of what I have to deal with.
So OG, I gotta be able to ask you, and this is the thing, and this is why I try to warn these young brothers in regards to the mindset, right? Like, and even within my own dating life, I'm asking these different questions and trying to ensure that the way that they answer these questions, right, it's not within an idea of, utilization of men as, pocketbooks or ATMs, right? That it's not like an inbred hatred or torment by whatever lack of father that was in their life before. I look at their family members, I look at their homegirls, I see, because you even pointed to, her single ass banshee homegirls that may have inflicted or manipulated things within her mind. So I say that to say is that eventually this is the conclusion. So, but if you were to go back 30 years when you were meeting her, what would you say are the key indicators or the red flags that you missed out on that you think would be valuable information for the next generation of man so they cannot find a woman like your ex-wife?
Man, shame on it. Let's write the book, because there's several of them. Straight up, I can tell you, one of the biggest signs that pops up in my head here is friends. When we would run into her so-called friends, this one friend she had was she married a guy who joined the service. And this gentleman also was somebody with particular character and ability. He became a submariner, became a great submariner, excelled in rank. But as you know, as a submariner, you're gone for 6 months out the year. And when we would sit there at the dinner table and listen to her with her Joey stories, and I would sit there and listen, and I think about it the first time I heard it. I said to my wife after we left there, I said, isn't her husband's name Ronnie? Because we went to the wedding. And she's sitting here talking about how she be riding on the Joey eggplant. And I didn't want to say nothing about it simply because of what the subject was. And that was girls talking there. I just sat there, listened, and appreciated being able to hear it. But then I find out that Joey is a term used for your boyfriend while your husband is deployed. Regardless
What?
of what his name is, yes. Regardless of what his name is, the service women who have men, when they get a boyfriend, he's referred to in conversation as a Joey. So when you hear about the girls talking about they know Joey or whatever, or when they're talking around servicemen, essentially that's what they're saying.
So
That's right. Made about
essentially she had homegirls that were hoes.
oh man, straight. Well, this one particular one, we had to cut her off. We had to cut her off, and I was so glad when they moved him from the East Coast to the West Coast because we didn't see her no more. When they moved him from Virginia to San Diego, that it was easier for me. But they still kept in touch, and she had other ones that were just as bad. I mean, they had one that I thought was kind of cool when we first met, because oh man, he sold herb and he had a good price, and I used to like dealing with him with it, because when I graduated from college, I stopped selling, but I still smoke.
Mm.
And this guy, he was trying to be upward and mobile in the wrong direction, and he went from herb to ice. And that wasn't my game, and the snow in between wasn't mine either. So we lost touch a long time before. But the girl just kept filling her head about how bad he turned, and that was gonna be me. Even though 22 years later, the most I was doing was buying nickel dime bags every other weekend.
All
Well,
right,
maybe more than every other weekend.
yeah,
I ain't gonna lie.
yeah,
Maybe that
probably,
wasn't that, but
yeah.
it's still
but,
what.
but okay. So the first big one was birds of a feather flock together. Identify if there's whole friends in the area. See how they talk about men. If they got nicknames and shit like that, then that is a key indicator to the bullshit. All right, what else you got?
Well, if their mama is a married woman, then how they relate with their mama is a big thing too, because her mama kept her in check with that the whole time that it was going on, that we was married. And I love her and appreciate it for God. That woman was something else. But her mama was her mama, and I had to let them handle that stuff the way they did. And her mama did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Not that she did my job, because I was there making sure that there was a house there, that when the house flooded, it got repaired again. Because like I said, we lived in New Orleans, and that was something that you deal with on a regular basis there. The question is just how bad it's gonna be and how much you're gonna do afterwards to get stuff back together. And I lived there all my life. That wasn't my first hurricane. That wasn't my second hurricane. But I guess to say it was my worst hurricane coming through Katrina. So it was something.
So let me also ask another question too. So what do you think about, right, like when we go over this specific point specific to the utilization of the government as opposed to a man? Do you think that maybe she came across some information and then she said, oh, wait a minute, I can actually leave him, does the calculation between child support, maybe even alimony, and then whatever government assistance that she can apply for? Sounds like she did something shady in claiming autism in one of the twins, right? Like, do you think that she came across information that de-incentivized her from, keeping a two-parent household?
She took advantage of the fact that about us being wiped out and moving from Louisiana, okay? Since that was where we were living when she filed for divorce, she had to divorce me in Louisiana. But then moving to Texas took over child support. And the state of Texas is very pig-headed. They don't want no other state telling them how to do nothing. So if you show up in Texas with papers from Louisiana, you got to hope, or any other state for that matter, you got to hope the judge accepts them. And when I went in there with all of my papers, but because I represented myself, the judge refused to take them. He refused to take them. And at the time she took me to court, the first two times, I had all the evidence I needed, but because I wasn't an attorney, the judge wouldn't allow me to present the stuff. And I was allowed to cross-examine her, but I wasn't allowed to present my evidence or put it in. And the reason I wasn't, and here's another way the system works against the guys, is I was making just enough money to pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a choice of stopping eating and hiring an attorney, or stop, having electricity in my apartment, which actually would have been a violation of my lease and could have got kicked out of my apartment for not keeping my electric on. But those were the type of things that I was dealing with paying my child support. Because
Yo, it's yeah.
every time I would make a move up and start to get some nickel, she would come along and try to swipe me through it. And
And
it was
and and
something
and that is
because,
one of the issues. Like when you take a look at the numbers, as the part as a that's like how many children go to their mother after a split, and the number I believe is at like 90%. But what's
well, that
not
was the
missing
other
from that?
issue too.
Hold on, OG, one sec. But what's missing from that number is that many men make the decision not to fight for because of the financial situation that they are currently in, and it would take so much extra, right, from a financial perspective in order to go that extra mile. And for your situation, it was a bargain between eating that night and hiring additional support.
Well, the whole thing was a climb. It was a climb and a half because coming back up from the storm was a traumatic and terrible situation.
Mm-hmm.
We were living in a hotel. We were trying to deal with the catastrophe back in New Orleans, and it wasn't just us. We had other family and friends that were, some of them that were in worse shape than us, and going through it. I had some friends that was in the Superdome down there. Had other ones that was stuck in the middle of nowhere and didn't know how they were going to get away from that. And we were all trying to manage things. We were lucky enough to have a church adopt us. And here's where the conniving came in with these so-called friends.
Mm-hmm.
Unbeknownst to me, one of her friends that also was involved in this had come across a church, and that church was offering families houses. So she went to this church, unbeknownst to me, and got an apartment and took my children and left me here in Texas. And that's when she filed for divorce, but she had to file for it in Louisiana because we didn't have a residence. I didn't have a residence. My last residence was our residence in Louisiana. And the divorce went down in Louisiana. And she went to this apartment, got things started there. And I'm still in the hotel, running back and forth, helping my mama, my friends get things together or pick up in New Orleans as best they can, because they were in a state where they were trying to get that done. My job was allowing me to work part-time and take that time. And my resources were going into paying, if you recall, them $4 a gallon gas prices driving back and forth from Dallas to New Orleans. Not too much background on that. I didn't have the money to hire the attorney to stop any of this. She takes the kids, she leaves in the apartment, divorces me, lies about everything. And before I could get anything else done, I'm having my wages garnished. The wages being garnished is actually the money I could have used to pay for the attorney. The wages, the money I was paying. Now remember, she was working pharmaceutical. She kept that job. She was able to keep her job working pharmaceuticals. She just got a different territory. That's all she did. Got territory up around here in Texas and just went on about it. And I don't know if you know it, but that's a six-figure job. Now, my job wasn't a six-figure job, but back then, 2006, I was making 50 grand. And do the math on it, that was way more than the average at the time. And that was coming up from New Orleans, moving to Dallas. And just the adjustment from the salary from New Orleans to Dallas gave her the incentive to take me back to court the first time for more money, just more money. And every time I would try, I got a second job, thinking that that would help me. And she came in and tried to take on that money too. And the court gave it to her every time. Every time.
Damn.
Now, never was it a case about her and her income, because, like I say, at the time she was making over six figures.
She just
But
wanted the money.
karma's,
And if you would have
yeah,
ever
karma's
make
a
more money, she
motherfucker.
wanted more money. All right, OG, I
Yeah.
gotta ask you the final question, and if you could try to make this like maybe 3 to 4 sentences worth, would would you suggest modern men today to get married?
Shame to say, I only got two nieces, and they got too many of them out there. So I'd have to say no. That's the only
Ooh.
perfect. That's the only perfect girls I know on earth right now. Mama's dead, and I got two nieces. Sister-in-law is married.
Should they all become passport bros? What you saying? Should they go
No,
elsewhere?
that's what I found here in Texas. I ain't gonna lie. I
Mm.
met two beautiful women here in Texas. It
Two
was like it was a godsend. Two beautiful women.
at the same
Uh,
time, OG?
no, oh no, oh no. Well, yeah and no, yeah and no. Because the first one, well, if it was, I met another one, and then when I got tired of her. She was starting to have problems. That's another story I'll tell you about. I met this other younger one. I met a 26-year-old lady, and the two of us. Oh man, it was all perfect heaven, and she died on me. Believe it or not.
Sorry to
There
hear
I
that.
was, 60 years old, and the 26-year-old girlfriend died. Now I think it was supposed to go the other way around.
Damn.
Now
Condolences.
after she died, one of her friends and I, started grieving together and kind of grew closer, and we started something up. And we talking about somebody in the early 30s, and she, woman of her own, having to do her own thing.
OG, you already know you can't take that 30-year-old one seriously, right? She gonna go back and double back up on the eggplant that the young deceased one just all of a sudden left. OG, hopefully you didn't take that one seriously, baby, or you still with her?
She died too.
God, what the fuck? What kind of life? What is happening over there, OG?
She wanted She wanted to be her own woman, do her own thing. When it was time, she wanted to go out on her own. And she went out one night. Somebody gave her some fentanyl. And
Fentanyl.
she,
Was the first a drug overdose? Because they were friends, so they probably did it together.
no, 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 no. They didn't know that we would hang here, and we would like oh man, we would have skinny dipping parties and stuff here. And we never had none of that kind of stuff here. We did just about everything together. And I know when she did, because this chick didn't do nothing. She didn't even smoke weed. She sold pee. That's what she did. If you had a job interview and you needed some pee for your job screening, you could buy pee from her. Because that's how I know.
Excuse me, I'm gonna have to. This is part of my square coming out. What is pee?
That's when you got to take a urine test.
Oh, pee, like a urine test. Okay, I thought it was some
Yeah.
new. I was thinking in my mind. I was like Percocets. I was like, wait a minute, that'd be terrible for a job interview. Okay, so she would
No.
help with pee screenings. Okay, I understand.
Yeah. And when they told me that from that autopsy, I just knew something was up, because that was terrible.
Damn.
And she left two children. She left two children here too. But
So
I'm
both
still in the
passed
children.
away. That's insane. OG.
And both of them younger than me. I figured both of them was gonna bury me and be living in my house after I'm dead. And here I'm telling stories about them.
Okay. I just want to just make sure, because I hear stories like that, and then the dark part of my mind goes
Oh
towards
man,
that is this young brother implicating himself, right? Like, is he telling me the whole story, right? Like, is that a
that's the whole. The 26-year-old was a Caucasian. The 30-year-old was Hispanic.
okay? So
And
anyway, so getting back to the question, you would not
living
suggest
the single
marriage.
life now. Enjoy your single life, fellas.
Well, here's the thing though. You was over at 60 years old doing skinny dipping parties with 26-year-old, right? Like so. You see, look at that laugh is crazy. but you would not have been able to do that if you were married to the same lady that you were married to for 20 years.
I don't know if I'd have missed it because I was happy with her. We had been together. I met this woman when I was
Wait, hold on.
19 years old.
We got to call that out. So because there's a lot of dudes that are just like, I'm gonna be single forever, and it's so I can do the skinny dipping parties later off in life. But what you're saying is that if you were still married to the first one, then you wanted to miss the skinny dipping parties with the 26-year-olds and her friends.
If there wouldn't have been the change, I mean, you got to realize, like two things can be true at once, and happiness can come in different ways. And I always dreamed of being, because I grew up in the house where the only time my mom and daddy would see each other and they wouldn't be screaming would be in court. Okay?
Yeah.
That was the house I grew up in. And that was the bitch part about it, because mama used to drag us to court just to show the judge that she was buying clothes for us. And I hated that. I hated having to go there. I wouldn't be allowed to speak to my daddy. And, he couldn't speak to me. And then when we step outside and stuff, the two of them would start yelling at each other. And then next time I see my daddy and I go to hug him, he'd think that, well, you took your mama side last time and stuff. I hated that. And I didn't want that for my children.
Yeah, it's pulling two ends against the middle. So then let me ask you, you've been through marriage, 20-year marriage, kids, right? You've been through the dating of 26-year-olds, and then a homegirl was probably giving you the looks the entire time while skinny dipping. First one passed away. The second one, she said, listen, I need some of that eggplant, right? So you've been through that. Unfortunately, she passed away, right? Like, so how would you define happiness at 67 years old? How would you define happiness at this stage of your life and experiencing all of these different things? What would happiness look like to you if you had a choice?
It's a daily thing. That's what I've discovered. Happiness is a daily thing. You can plan your future and execute it, because I'm retired. I chose a career. I lived that career. I excelled in that career, and I'm retired from that career now. So at the point I'm at right now, if you can get here, it's just a daily thing. Previously, while you out there climbing, making it, don't let nobody take advantage of you. Try and stay ahead of it. Unfortunately, once you start having kids, you are tied to that other person, and you're at their mercy to some degree for how things can go. Because just like you can get tired of them and want to dismiss them, they can figure out ways of not necessarily making your life easier. Because if that's all they see you as is a meal ticket, then yeah, they're gonna raise hell when you try to take that plate away.
OG, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing your thoughts, your perspectives.
Man, I enjoy this stuff. I sit here and watch it, and I got 4 grown boys. Yeah. And the best thing I can do is turn them on to people like you and Care. 30, 35, 33, and 31.
There's one more. I think you said 4.
The 31 is twins.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah, no, listen, and and I appreciate you coming through and sharing some of your words, your wisdom, your experiences, connecting, right? It actually makes me feel like maybe I should have a portion of the show called an OG hour. And we just have OGs come through and just start talking about their situations. Because even within my life, like a lot of my perspectives, whether it's through the wisdom of watching other people within their situations, but then also having OGs around me to corral me in, like, oh, okay, listen, but this, but that. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? So I appreciate you sharing this story, man. I appreciate you. All right?
Hey, wow. I appreciate your platform. And keep going there. I come along afterwards, man. Sam to say, it was after my second lady died, and I decided to look up and see what other options was. I kind of give up on it. I
Mm.
mean, there's no way in the world I'd be worried with one of these dunquishes here in Dallas for nothing. You
Protect
couldn't
your
pay
peace,
me enough.
OG. What you need to do, you need to go get your passport. Go get a one-way
Oh,
flight
well,
over
I
there to
tell you that
Thailand,
too.
baby.
You can run into some problems there. You can run into some problems there because I've met a couple of ladies from the Philippines and Hong Kong. Hong Kong is China,
Yeah.
and they can be oh
How'd
yeah,
you
they can
meet?
be
How'd you meet
truthful too.
women from China?
Through long distance relationships and
No, but
stuff.
but how did you meet them?
A lot of people come to Texas. A
Okay.
lot of people come to Texas, and that's what it was. She was here selling Chinese goods to somebody, and we run into each other and started talking and stuff, and we'd see each other when she'd come back and forth. But she wasn't about nothing neither. And you got to be careful with some of these foreigners because they can have ulterior motives, and that's something that you may never see in them, but be part of unwillingly, and
Yeah.
that can have all other kind of problems for you. Because you be from New Orleans, you run into just about everything you can think of, and when you move
But
away from that,
but OG is anybody can be willing to take your kindness for weakness. Anybody can be deceitful. Anybody can be a
yeah,
liar. I don't, in my field studies and experiences, I don't see a rate that is any different from a foreign woman and an American woman. I don't see right. Like there's good people, bad people abroad, good people, bad people here. And it's what are the things that you are downloading in order to be able to utilize as a tool to disambiguate the real from the not real.
uh, I don't know if I was younger, I'd go live on the mountain, one of them mountains where they just openly like share a woman, and then everybody take care of the children.
What the?
The women, like move.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, right.
Wait a minute.
Ain't never seen no videos.
Where they share
They
the
got
woman.
places. Yeah, they got like places in India in the mountains where the women are scarce. So they'll have the woman will have like 3 or 4 different husbands, and the men each take care of all of the children. Everybody takes care of all of the children as the woman goes around to all of the different husbands.
You said that
This
you
is
would
you can,
prefer that?
well, if I wanted a son today and had to think about what would be the right kind of lifestyle, because that way there would be no misunderstanding about nothing, and they would essentially understand the function of the woman better than the conniving of the woman, because she can't manipulate none of the men in her particular situation. Because
Yeah,
if the
but
men decide they don't want to deal with her no more,
they
then
cut her heart
she's
out
in work
and put it up to the
and
moon
keep the
god.
children.
Right. So
Because
but
the
but
children live with the men. The children don't live with the women.
this is
And
I understand this, OG, but so you'd be okay with Bill, Harry, and Tom going deep inside your old lady.
okay, these videos are on YouTube, where same place we at right now, so you can see them, and you don't have to just take me for cap here. But a
No,
lot
no,
of the time,
I'm not saying I don't believe you. I've seen onesie twosie of this
yeah,
video. It's not
yeah,
the
a lot of
majority.
times
Usually, it's the
it's not
man who has
Tom, Dick, and
multiple women.
Harry. It's like brothers and cousins, and when the girls are born, they arrange marriages. Yeah, it'll be brothers, and they'll arrange a marriage. If there's a girl, the girl gets arranged with a marriage who's not related to them, so that there's no inbreeding. That's the way they do it out there. And as far as like procreating and bringing up offspring, as opposed to what we have today, I see something like that as way more beneficial than this hyena society we living in.
So again, whether or not it's your brothers, you'd be okay with, coming in the house, knocking on the door, and you hear, you'd be okay with hearing that and saying, all right, I'll just come back later. And then,
Nah, you're getting lied.
wait, what? Say it again?
No, you're getting lied. If all we worrying about is just having children and raising children that we know are ours,
Brother,
that's the way they do it there.
what's
I know it
that?
sounds crazy,
What's that, brother?
but no, I heard that too. But the brothers there don't view it the same way. There's no emotional attachment to it the same way that we have. There's no they own the children. When the woman has the children, she's for those brothers. And the brother raises the children as if it's a son, if it's the same as, knowing it could be a nephew. The children have these fathers, the fathers teach these ways, and the girls learn them as they grow up too. It's this one part, it's up there in the mountains of India. It's from wherever I remember in the right, the people writing that real weird looking like text. And it's been a way of life for hundreds of years up there. It's not what we do, but it's what they do. And they don't have the situations we do.
So again, you'd stand in line, and let me this. So, did you suggest this to your ex-wife? Is it right? Like,
No, right?
okay,
You can't tell women nothing nowadays, but you gotta be kidding. You're just looking to argue if you're gonna try to give some woman some kind of advice about like stuff like that. I mean, the first thing they're gonna do is think about it and say, "Oh, that's not the way I want to do it," and then start an argument with you about the next thing that pops in their head. But in this part of the world where this is a way of life, the women who do it don't really complain. They live it and enjoy their lives and don't really, the ones that I was seeing weren't really up about it. They were more shy about being around men that they weren't used to taking their clothes off than they were around the men they were. And that was the situation they had to deal with. And the men were very open and friendly about it.
I'd like to throw in of an idea of meeting a young lady that can be open and friendly, sincere, feminine, appreciative, realistic, but not have my brothers and best friends go deep into her cervix. I think that would be a better option for me. And
I understand,
okay.
but the Walt Disney make movies, not lives.
You said what? You said what makes movies?
Walt Disney makes movies, not lives.
Listen. Well, why
Let me tell
can't
you about it.
listen? If you're gonna do all of this, you might as well go over you might as well go to another country and just pay for it, and then you can have it all to yourself. But again, you want to go
we're talking
somewhere.
about if you want to have children. Procreate.
No,
That's what
I'm
we're
not.
talking
I'm not even talking about just having children and procreate. No, I'm just saying like paying for time for a long period of time. I mean, of the options of going to the tribe, the tribe in India, and the brothers were all packing out the young lady, versus going to another country and buying time. Giving her a stipend, right? Giving her a monthly living allowance. That's better than the situation that she was at. Like. In one situation, it might be more transactional, but she can, if she's a good actress, she can at least fake the funk for however many years up until the end of life. Versus the other situation is the constant, right? Like your homeboy is going to skeet on her. Right, like, and imagine her coming and you having to hold her in your warm embrace, right? Like after, right, like sexually at four sexually active men that at any given moment, right? Like, first of all, she's gonna be tired, right? Like, how are you gonna handle the conversation of, hey, listen, Jerome just he just wallop, right? Like, I can barely walk. He must have been going through a lot at work today. Right, like, and saying, you're gonna have to give me some time. I need to go soak in some Epsom salt for a little while. And you got it right, like, I of the choice of the two, I don't think that I would. I think that I think of the choice. I don't understand why you would pick the latter as opposed to the former.
Well, for one, I'd be I guess it's an emotional detachment that
Hmm.
I would be specifically speaking of. It would not be something that I would feel uh, that I have to have. As I look back on it, I view raising my sons as being more rewarding than being married.
I,
And
okay.
if I had to pick between the two as to which one that I would, if I had to make a decision on either, I would rather keep the part of raising my sons because they are four fine young men, and I'm as proud of them as I can take the next breath. But as far as the situation with their mama go, I would not want to wish that on anybody.
I totally understand that, OG. So what you're saying is that you would appreciate more kind of the idea of being able to have children with a woman, but not necessarily
And they
the
don't have
the
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 Maury show over there, you know?
they don't have what?
The Maury show.
Shout out to Maury.
So when the baby comes, you like the baby, you have the baby, you play with the baby, and you know, you live milk with the baby.
That's funny. That's a serial killer laugh. You know that, right? You got to stop doing that laugh with the backstory. With the backstory with the two young ladies. Anyway, OG, I listen. I can't agree with you on the last one, my brother. I understand that where it comes from,
I'm
though.
just saying, as far as the way to go, if we got to pick a way to get kids, because right now, if you want your children, if you want to move along in life, you have these type of impediments in this community we live in. And I'm gonna tell you right now, you talk about generational wealth, you would not believe how much money was spent on attorneys both here in Texas and Louisiana fighting all this bull crap, fighting it off. You
I,
would not believe.
I listen, OG. I want you to investigate other societies where there's not a word for divorce. How about that? But before going to the Inca tribe in utilizing their what is it, polyamory? It's like, what's the one where it's the woman that got all the dudes that she's married to? I want you to at least investigate no divorce countries that don't have a word for divorce. They cannot get divorced before going into a situation where you got to wait and turn in line to give a young lady
Was
a hug.
This place didn't have no name, and we had them laws. I mean, if you look at, I think it was the Blackfoot Indian. If the woman didn't behave, she would have to go live in a teepee by herself. But she would still have to take care of the man and the children to eat. I think it was the Blackfoots that did that. There wasn't none of that stuff about, "Ooh, girl, don't listen to him about nothing." And because back then, if you didn't listen to the man, you didn't eat. And shout out to the great KS. That's the thing that he points out to these women when he tries to tell them that your rights are given to you. And if they weren't there, you would be hungry.
Yeah. No, I get it. And at the same time too, within your situation, it may be Amari because it could be any of the men that are tapping. Right? You would never know if you're the father of the child, but you
Well, it
guys would
wouldn't
all
matter.
raise them together. So it wouldn't matter if it's your specific DNA. Like you wouldn't know if you're continuing your lineage.
Yeah, well, if you look at them folks, they all look alike anyway, shame to say, but you're not gonna really be able to tell the difference between your brothers and you if y'all screwing the same woman. And when the baby come out, it's gonna look like, one of y'all. That's their way of life. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, listen, brother. Listen, I appreciate the nuanced perspective. This took a turn that I did not think it was going to turn, but I appreciate you sharing with all of us. This is extremely entertaining. So I appreciate you talking through this.
And the women accept it as a way of life. The women, they ain't complaining. You don't see none of them screaming and hollering about it, and you don't see none of these so-called human rights groups.
Well, there's no feminism
for them either.
Yeah. There's no
You don't see
feminism
none
out
of
of
them
there.
either, because they can't go to none of these women and find somebody who's unhappy.
Yeah. I don't agree with your conclusion, but yeah, you are 1,000% correct. All right, OG.
Well, like I say, everybody picking on that. I appreciate you putting
appreciate
up with this.
I appreciate you, OG.
I'll be listening. I'm out here.
All right, for
Saying to
sure.
say,
Listen, you can call back anytime. All right.
yeah.
All right, brother. Take care.